So you've come to a yoga class with a knee problem. You're not sure what it is, you haven't had a chance to tell the teacher, and you just need to be able to get through the class without any issues or aggravating your knee. So how to work with your knee problem in the yoga class? The rule would be just don't have any pain. Do a little bit of each posture, and before you feel the pain, you stop. Don't go as far as feeling the beginning of it, because you will just keep aggravating your knee problem. There's many different kinds of knee pain, experienced different ways. The first one is on the inside of the knee. It's usually a meniscus problem. It's either worn or torn. This is usually in the back of the knee. Then you have some pain. It could be your anterior cruciate ligament. It could be swollen. It could be a little torn or strained. And then the pain in the front of the knee, which is runner's knee. This can be patella or ligaments through the front of the knee have been strained or overstretched. So you need to be able to just simply do these postures without feeling any of this pain. It can be a combination of these things. Some people have these problems and they don't experience any pain at all. So it's extremely subjective. So locking the knee is a very good thing to learn. It can be very painful in the beginning. Bikram yoga, we learn to lock the knee. Eventually, it can take a year or two to learn it if you have a bad knee. So you're just going to do the best you can. Jackie's going to learn to stand on one leg and lock the knee. So this can take a very long time. So you just go to the point where you feel the beginning of the pain, and then you back off half an inch away from it. She's pulling up the quadricep, pulling up the kneecap, using the arch strength, foot strength, toe strength. This will create some strength in the leg, which will all help your knee problem. Make sure you pull in your pelvic floor muscles, stomach muscles, keep your hips level. There's no hard and fast rules, and it's very advisable to be in a class with an experienced teacher to help you with your alignment. So we have the knee bending exercises. You basically just come down, you feel a little discomfort, and you back off out of it. Again, pulling the stomach muscles, pelvic floor muscles, and keeping the quadriceps nice and tight. Eventually, she'll be able to go down lower. Keep the knee back over your ankle. Don't let it come forward. This can put strain in the front of your knee. The second part of awkward pose comes up on the toes. And perhaps you can only bend a couple of inches. It's still very good. You're still going to strengthen. If coming down too far hurts, you just back up out of it a couple of inches. Quads tight. Calf muscles working, feet working, arches getting strong, all things that are going to improve your knees. Third part, this is very good actually for the inside of the knee to create some space for the meniscus. You bring the knees together and just gently come down as far as you can. It may hurt, so you just stay there. Don't go anymore. If you feel you can come down further, you just keep coming down. And then you can put the hands on the floor if that's going to help you actually get down all the way. If you can do that without feeling any pain in your knee. So coming down to kneeling, this is excellent for your knees, creating some space there in the inside of the joint. Getting some blood supply, synovial fluid, getting in there, creating some cushioning. Day by day, she might even be able to bring the hands off the floor. That little lift at the end comes from squeezing the knees together. It means your knees are really doing very well indeed. To come out, use your hands again, and just do the last bit on your own if you can to build some strength. Eagle, or the one leg standing posture with one leg wrapped over the top. So you're going to sit down, keeping her knees back, not to let them go forward. Hips way back and knees above the ankles. This is the bad position with the knees forward. That's if you have a knee problem in the front of your knee, runner's knee. So keep the knee over your ankle and bring the right leg over the left. If the problem is with the right leg and you have pain on the inside of your knee or the meniscus area, then hooking the foot could be uncomfortable. So just don't do that yet. Go to just the beginning levels where you're feeling stretching happening right before the pain and stop there. Hooking the foot round will eventually bring some opening there on the inside of the knee. Again, if it's a standing knee, make sure that you come up. Don't put the knee too far forward. That's going to create strain. Bring it nice and far back over your ankle. come up out of it if you need. Just do little bit, hook the foot if the problem isn't with that right knee. Eventually you'll hook the foot and you'll be able to sit down deeper as your knees get stronger and the more aligned. Many people have a discomfort if they're kicking back in a standing bow or similar posture. So you literally just hold your foot and just engage your gluteus muscle, hip muscle, pelvic floor muscle, thigh muscle. Don't kick your foot away from you too much. That's using slightly different muscle. Just try to do the little bit you can without feeling any strain in the knee. Don't come down too far. You're still getting benefits in your back, standing knee, standing foot, and just find the level you can do without the pain there. Sometimes even that is too much for people, so you can just hold the foot and stand up there on one leg. So in the split leg postures, a few things can happen that can be aggravating to even a good knee if you do them wrong over time. So first of all, if your feet are turned outwards slightly, then you can really strain the inside of your knee. So you really do need to turn your toes in and rotate your knees inward and roll your thighs inwards towards each other. That will protect your knee and prevent strain on the inside of the knee. You don't want the weight jammed back in your heels. That can strain the back of your knee. Bring the weight all the way forward. Pull up your kneecaps, pull up your thigh muscles, pull the pelvic floor muscles in, and that will create stability for your knees. So the weight's forward, kneecaps lifted. If you have pain in the back of the knee, pressing the weight into the heels can strain there. If you're having a really tough time, you can't find a comfortable position, you may have to bend the knee. It's not the end of the world. Just go ahead and bend the knee day by day. You press them back with your weight correctly in your toes, foot in the correct position, knee facing slightly in. Day by day, you try to lock the knees. So next, moving on to triangle or warrior type postures. The thing you need to be careful of on the front leg is if you have pain in the front of your knee, never let the knee go forward of the ankle. This would put strain even on normal knee. So keep your knee directly above your ankle, your foot facing forwards, your knee over your foot. You're working with your right hip to move that knee back so that it's directly over your ankle. If it hurts you, just come back up out of it until your knee is comfortable. If your problem was with the back leg, you can put strain on the inside of that left knee, Jackie's left knee, if you have the foot facing forward and the knee facing forward. So that can put strain there, pressing too much weight into the inside of that knee and those ligaments. So the correct alignment, more correctly, would be to turn the left foot in, the left knee down slightly. That means that you can drop your left hip down and forward a little bit to bring those three joints in the correct alignment, pulling up the kneecap and thigh muscle. Your knee should face in the same direction as the foot, not in a different direction. So we're in standing separate leg head to knee pose, or any pose where you're in this front leg bent. Don't have your feet too close together so your knee overshoots your ankle. Have the legs wide enough, foot facing directly forward, and bend your knee so that it never goes forward of your ankle. So if you have a bad front knee, right knee in this case, and pain in the front of your knee, open your legs nice and wide and keep the knee behind your ankle. If the problem's with the back leg, don't have your knee facing slightly sideways because that can strain the inside of the knee. This goes for even a healthy, normal knee. Have the knee facing straight forward, left hip down, and your left foot a little bit more forward. If you turn your foot out too much, you can then strain the inside of that left knee. Turn it down. Even if your heel has to come up off the floor, turn the hip down, and then gently try to get your heel on the floor without twisting the knee. Pull up the quadricep, pull up the pelvic floor. That means that you can safely do those postures without aggravating a good knee or aggravating an injured knee. Lotus or tree type postures can be very painful. So with a meniscus problem, any bent leg lotus style postures can be extremely painful. Pinch meniscus, or even if there's a little piece torn. So there's 2 or 3 ways of doing this. The best way is you just bend your knee in the straight position so that your knee is protected it's bent to its maximum in the straight position. Then the turn should come from the hip, not from the knee. As you turn the foot, you're opening up your knee joint. And you see where you get to, you should feel this in your hip, not in your knee. You want the knee to have the integrity of the bend, but the hip joint to be doing the opening. If it's painful, just drop your foot down lower on your left thigh. And make sure that you feel this in your hip. If that's still too painful, you can still get just as much opening in your hip if you have your foot nice and low down on your ankle. If that's not working for you, rolling up a hand towel, inserting it deep into the back of your knee and folding your knee on that hand towel to create some space opening of your joint. It literally opens the joint and puts some space there for your meniscus. Then you do the same entrance, turning from the hip, giving your knee that little bit of extra space. You might be able to get your foot a bit higher. But just please be sure not to feel any pain in your knee when you do that. Go in and out the same way, out the way you went in. And then that should be giving you enough options that you can still do that posture without aggravating anything. So for floor bow, bend the knees and hold onto your feet. If you can't hold the knees, you'll do the modification. So if the pain is in the front of the knee, you have stiff knees, you can't quite hold your feet, try the best you can. Teacher might even just give you a tiny little assist to get hold of your feet. Then this might be all that you can do. So if that's all you can do and you have pain in the knee, then just try to kick your legs up 1/2 inch. If you can't do it, roll over onto your back, tuck your tailbone under, push your hips up to the sky and put your hands on your hips to help you keep the pelvic floor muscles pulled in and the back of the body nice and long as you kick up. That's basically the same posture on your back without putting the strain on the knees. The rest of the yoga postures will help you open your knees and improve things, so you should only need that modification for a few weeks. So for the floor, if you can kneel, really you can do pretty much everything to some extent. The problem really occurs if you can't kneel down at all. So for something like half tortoise, which would be arms over the head and just coming down. This is if you can kneel perfectly well. If you cannot kneel all the way down, you would just start on all fours like a cat and just bend the knees to the level that you can. If they were really bad, you would probably not even be able to go vertical. Well, this is extremely unusual. I wouldn't suggest you went this far. If you can get your hips over your knees, then you can just do the posture from there. You put your head down, you still get the head lower than the heart, you get the circulation, and day by day you just walk your hips a little bit closer towards your heels until one day they're all the way down. You can come out without your hips ever touching your heels. If you simply cannot kneel down at all, you don't have many options for half tortoise. One of them could be that you would just sit cross-legged and go forward and put your head down. You want to get your head down lower than your heart and just create a compression in the groin. So cross-legged and head down would be an option. Fixed firm pose, you would start on all fours if kneeling, if you can put pressure on your knees, and you would attempt to get your hips on your heels week after week. So that means that you're basically using your arm strength and just trying to go down. You do not try to open your feet. You have to be able to kneel first before you can start opening the feet. So it could take several weeks, maybe months, until your hips can touch on your heels. Once she can sit the hips on the heels, then she will begin to open the feet a little bit wider, using the arm strength all the time to just slowly lower the hips. These movements we're showing here can take many weeks to do. And if the knees hurt you, you can open them a little bit more, but not wider than the hips. Don't open them too wide just to get your hips down. It's defeating the purpose. You want the joint in the safest possible position, which is right in front of your hip bones. If you cannot kneel and you want to do the fixed firm posture or learn how to kneel, and your knees are really bad, this is your modification option. You sit with your bottom on the floor, feet in front of you the same width they would be in Supta, fixed firm, knees together to create some opening space in the inside of your knee joint, you use your hands to walk your hips closer and closer towards your heels. One day they will be right up by your heels. That means your knees are now opening without any pressure on the knees. You're relieving the pressure. So once you can do that with your hips close with your heels, you would be able to then start on all fours in the modification that we just showed you, hips in the air, and gradually working your hips onto your heels in the kneeling position. So now this is rabbit. If you cannot kneel down, start on all fours, put your head on the floor, grab your heels, walk your knees in towards your head as much as you can, and lift your hips up into the sky. She's walking her knees in towards her head, and at no point did her hips need to touch the heels. Come out the same way, put your hands forward on the floor, come up, and then she can turn around and lie down without her hips ever having to go near her heels if the knees won't do it. That's for the person with a really severe knee injury. That means they can't bend the knee. Leg stretching. If you have meniscus problems, you can use the hand towel and get to your knee in the cross-leg position. And then you can perform the posture as needed, as normal. If that's not helping you, just have the bad knee straight and put the head on the knee on the side. Just a note, if you have a knee problem on one side and you're going to do it with the legs straight, I suggest you do the other side the same, otherwise you'll create some asymmetry. When you've done these modifications for a few weeks, please do just check back in that you can't go back to doing the regular posture. You don't need to usually modify forever. You just do it for long enough that your body starts to open, and the rest of the series that you're doing normally is helping your body to change. Just go back, try again the normal posture, even if you're only doing it 5%, because that way you will improve quite quickly. Don't stay with these modifications forever. They're a means to an end. They're a means to get your body close to the posture so that you can start doing the real thing. Talk to your teacher, see if they've got more suggestions, see if they can help you to move out of the modification into the real pose. And if not, that's okay. It takes everybody a different length of time. It took me 18 months to lock my knee when I first started. Other people, it takes 6 months. So everyone's different. Don't worry about it. Just do the best you can. It's doing you a lot of good to come in here and move these joints. The worst thing you can do with a knee injury is to stop using it. It will get stiffer and you will lose mobility very quickly. So keeping them moving, keeping the muscles nice and healthy, keeping the joint lubricated, these are all excellent things. Just be proud of yourself that you're in there, you're actually doing something to improve your injury.